Okay, so how do you keep clients? And there's a whole topic about how you attract clients, how you get clients, but how do you make sure that you keep them once you get them? Most lawyers are talented enough that if they can get a client into their office, they can probably sell them, persuade them to retain their services. But there's a whole skill in making sure that that client stays with you in that case and all future cases. And again, this is a very broad topic, but there's just a couple of things that I think that if you employ, you're going to have a good skill set in terms of keeping clients. It's one thing to be able to get a client. It's another thing to be able to keep a client. And the first thing I would say, again, this seems perfectly obvious, you treat them well. Lawyers have a bad, PR rep. They all, would think we're all rich. We don't, we only concern about ourselves. We don't care about our clients. We're devious. I mean, when that client walks in, you're already on strike two. So if you do anything that might reinforce that view, you've had it. And there's lots of lawyers around and you're going to lose the client. It's interesting, there was a 2002 ABA study, and they studied why do lawyers get fired? And most lawyers would probably tell you, well, I would think most lawyers get fired because they didn't do their job. They didn't produce a good result. You would be wrong. 5% of those surveyed said that they were dissatisfied and discharged their lawyer because of the results obtained. 67% said they discharged their lawyer because they were treated discourteously. Now, what does that tell you? It tells you that clients are more concerned about how lawyers treat them than they are with the result. Now, like I said, you would think that's the opposite. You would think the client would be most concerned about that. And I'm not saying clients aren't concerned about the results. Obviously, they are. But I think as lawyers, we underestimate how clients feel about us personally. Are you being condescending? Are you not treating them with respect? Are you looking down on them? And sometimes that can happen and you're not even realizing that you're doing it. Most clients, unless they're institutional clients or they're clients that deal with lawyers all the time, kind of look up to clients. They're a little bit intimidated by lawyers. Sometimes they're a little bit intimidated by lawyers. You have to bring that down a bit. You have to directly treat them on a personal level. So that's the first thing I would say. The other thing I would say is maintain contact with your client. The problem that we have in our business is the vast majority of work that we're doing, they don't see us doing it. Now, unless you're in a trial and they're present in the trial and they're watching you, a lot of times you're working vigorously and you're doing a heck of a job, but they don't see it. And if they don't have any contact with you, they think, number one, you're ignoring their case, and number two, that's affecting their result. So there's a couple things you can do about that, and this is a practice that I implemented early. It's really easy to put into play, and it's very effective, and that is give them paper. As lawyers, we have lots of paper. We have correspondence and pleadings and motions and requests for adjournments, and some things really should be in the hands of the client. Other things they probably don't need to have, right? Give it to them. Everything that you send out, CC the client. I don't care what it is. They're getting paper. They're thinking, oh, my lawyer's working on my case. Now, it may be not important that they have it, but it's something that they get that they know the work is being done. Returning phone calls. Again, this is one of my pet peeves. If you want to lose a client, don't return their phone calls. Don't respond to their emails. That's probably one of the number one reason that clients leave lawyers, because they feel he or she does not take my case seriously. He or she does not return my phone calls. He or she does not respond to my emails. he or she is ignoring me. And that may be happening even though you're not ignoring their case. You may be working diligently on the case, but they don't know that. And you could get fired, and more importantly, you could get a visit from the disciplinary committee, because it is an ethical violation to not return phone calls. The other thing I would talk about is realistic expectations with your client helps you maintain that client. That when you sit down with that client, you are setting the parameters. This is what I think realistically we can accomplish here. I know you would like to get here. I don't see how that's going to happen given the facts and given the law. I think it's unlikely. You need to bring those expectations down. Why does that maintain a relationship with the client? Because the client goes in and feels like, I'm getting an upfront advice from my lawyer on what's going to happen. And my experience with this lawyer is he almost is always right on that. So he or she feels like the advice that they're getting is grounded in reality. Also, defining the scope of your representation is very helpful in maintaining your client relationship, because the client has a firm and should be in writing what the scope of the representation is. It's your job to define that scope. It's not the client's job. If you don't define the scope, the client's going to be all over the place. Well, I paid you for this, so I'm going to ask you questions about that. No. What you paid me is for this specific legal representation, this specific legal service. It gives the client knowledge that gives them confidence in you, that they know this is specifically what I'm getting, this is what I'm paying for it, and every time I hire this lawyer, I get this kind of specific scope of representation. So these are things that you should keep in mind, that if you put them into your practice, you're not only going to get clients, you're going to keep clients.